Buddha's secret to end suffering in 5 minutes. Wisdom from a monk with 50 years on the path. Hey there. I'm a monk who's been walking the Buddha's path for 50 years. That's half a century of sitting under ancient trees, listening to the wind rustle through rice fields, and watching my own mind and the minds of thousands who've come to me seeking peace. Today, I've got something special for you, a simple, down-to-earth secret from the Buddha that can stop suffering in just 5 minutes. No need to shave your head or meditate for hours, just an open heart and a willingness to give it a shot. This isn't some mystical trick or magic chant. It's the core truth the Buddha uncovered under the Bodhi tree over 2,500 years ago. Suffering starts in your mind, and once you get a grip on your mind, you can set yourself free. I'll walk you through it step by step, sharing real stories from my life and the folks I've met along the way. This isn't just theory, it's a living, breathing practice that fits right into your everyday world. Part 1: Understanding Suffering, the Root of It All. Wisdom from a monk with 50 years on the path. Hey there. I've been a monk for 50 years, half a century of sitting in silence, watching the world spin, and learning from the Buddha's timeless wisdom. I've meditated under sprawling banyan trees, listened to the soft hum of crickets on quiet nights, and sat with countless folks who've come to me with heavy hearts. Over all those years, one truth has shone through like a beacon: most of us think suffering comes from the outside. You know the culprits: losing a job, arguing with your spouse, or those gray, rainy days that make everything feel heavier than it should. But here's the kicker, something the Buddha drilled into me over decades of practice: suffering isn't about what's happening out there in the world. It's about what's brewing inside your head and heart. The Buddha had a name for this internal mess. He called it the three fires: craving, anger, and ignorance. These aren't just fancy words, they're the sparks that light up every ounce of pain we feel. Craving is that itch for things to be different: more money, a better relationship, a sunnier day. Anger is the heat that flares when life doesn't play by our rules. And ignorance? That's the fog keeping us blind to what's really going on. For 50 years, I've watched these fires burn in myself and others, and I've learned one thing: if you want to put them out, you've got to start by looking right at them. Let me take you back to a rainy afternoon about 20 years ago, when a woman named Lon stumbled into my temple. She was a vegetable vendor from the market down the road, a tough little spot where folks haggled over every penny. That day, the rain had soaked her through, her faded blue shirt clung to her shoulders, and her face was a mix of tears and raindrops. She dropped her basket of wilted greens by the door and sank onto a wooden bench. "Teacher," she said, her voice cracking, "I'm drowning in pain. My husband walked out on me 2 years ago. I'm raising 3 kids on my own, and selling these veggies barely keeps food on the table. I can't take it anymore." I sat across from her, the rain tapping on the roof like a steady drumbeat, and let her words settle. Then I asked her something simple: "Lon, are you suffering because your husband left, or because you keep thinking life should have turned out differently?" She froze, her dark eyes locking onto mine. For a moment, she didn't say a word, just sat there, breathing, as if I'd flipped a switch she didn't know existed. Then she went quiet, staring at the floor. "That's the first step, my friend, face your suffering head on. It's not complicated, and you don't need a temple or a monk to do it. In just 5 minutes, you can start. Grab a scrap of paper, or heck, just close your eyes and ask yourself, what's hurting me right now? Is it really out there in the world, or is it bouncing around in my skull?" Lon sat with that question, and after a while, she looked up and said, "Teacher, it's not just that he left. It's that I keep asking why my life isn't fair. Why me? Why not someone else?" She'd been clinging to this story in her head, this idea that life owed her something better. And that story? It was the real knife twisting in her gut. When she really saw it, something shifted. She didn't magically get her husband back or a pile of cash to fix her troubles. But a few days later, I saw her at the market, arranging her baskets of greens with a faint smile. The rain was still falling, her kids were still a handful, but she wasn't drowning anymore. She'd let go of that "why isn't my life fair" tape looping in her mind, and suddenly, those soggy vegetables didn't look so bad. Life got a little lighter, not because the outside changed, but because she stopped fighting the inside. The 3 fires, a closer look. Let's unpack those 3 fires the Buddha talked about, because they're the key to understanding why we hurt. I've seen them flare up in every corner of life, from bustling cities to sleepy villages, and they don't care if you're rich, poor, young, or old. Craving, the hunger that never quits. Craving's the first fire, and man, it's a sneaky one. It's that voice whispering, if only I had this, I'd be happy. More money, a bigger house, a partner who doesn't snore, whatever it is, we convince ourselves it's the missing piece. I met a guy named Vin about 15 years back, a fisherman from a coastal town. He'd roll up to the temple in his beat-up truck, smelling like salt and sweat, and unload his woes. "Teacher," he'd say, "I work my tail off hauling fish every day, but it's never enough. I need a new boat, a better net, then I'll be set." One day, I handed him a cup of tea and asked, "Vin, what happens when you get that boat?" He shrugged. "I'll catch more fish, make more money." "And then?" I pressed. "I'll fix up my house, maybe take a break." "And then?" He paused, scratching his head. I smiled and said, "See, that's craving. It's a dog chasing its tail, never stops, never satisfied." Vin laughed, but I could tell it hit him. He'd been suffering not because his boat was old, but because he was hooked on this idea that more would fix him. Craving isn't just about stuff, it's about wanting life to bend to your script. For Lon, it was craving a husband who'd stayed, a life where she wasn't scraping by. For Vin, it was craving a shiny new boat. For you, it might be craving a promotion, a quieter kid, or even just a day without drama. The Buddhist said this fire keeps us running, but here's the secret, you don't have to run. You can stop and look at it. Anger, the blaze we feed. Then there's anger, the second fire, and boy, does it burn hot. It's what flares up when life says no and we say that's not fair. I've felt it myself, don't let the robes fool you. Back in my early days as a monk, maybe 30 years ago, I was tending a small garden behind the temple. I'd spent weeks nurturing these little tomato plants, watering them, shooing off bugs. One morning, I came out to find a herd of goats had trampled the whole thing, stems snapped, leaves chewed to bits. I was furious. I stormed around, muttering about those stupid goats and the neighbor who couldn't keep them tied up. Then I caught myself. I sat down on a rock, took a deep breath, and asked, "Who's this anger hurting?" The goats were long gone, munching happily somewhere else. The plants weren't coming back. The only one suffering was me, stewing in my own heat. That's when the Buddha's words clicked, anger's a fire we stoke ourselves. I could have spent all day mad, but instead, I let it go and planted new seeds. A month later, I had tomatoes again and a lesson that stuck. I saw this fire in a woman named Hoa, too. She was a seamstress who'd come to me about 5 years ago, her hands rough from years of stitching. "Teacher," she said, "my sister borrowed money from me and never paid it back. Now she's flaunting a new phone while I'm still broke. I hate her." Her face was tight, her voice sharp. I asked, "Hoa, is your sister losing sleep over this, or are you?" She blinked, then admitted, "It's me. I can't stop thinking about it." That anger was eating her alive, not her sister. When she faced it, saw it for what it was, she started to cool down. She didn't get her money back, but she got her peace. Ignorance, the fog we wander in. The third fire's ignorance, and it's the trickiest. It's not about being dumb, it's about not seeing things as they are. We stumble around, blind to the truth, and that's where suffering digs in. Take Min, a young guy I met in Hanoi maybe a decade ago. He was a college grad, sharp as a tack, but miserable. "Teacher," he said, "I've got a good job, a girlfriend, but I feel empty. What's wrong with me?" He thought happiness was out there, get the degree, land the gig, find the girl, and boom, life's perfect. But it wasn't. I asked him, "Min, what do you think happiness is?" He rattled off a list, success, love, money. I nodded and said, "That's ignorance talking. You're chasing shadows, not seeing what's right here." He'd been ignoring the simple stuff, the breeze on his face, the laugh of a friend, because he was lost in this fog of what's next. When he started looking at what he already had, that emptiness began to fade. Ignorance keeps us stuck. For Lon, it was not seeing that her pain wasn't just her husband leaving, it was her story about it. For Vin, it was not realizing more wouldn't fill the hole. For Hoa, it was missing that her anger was her own burden. And for Min, it was chasing a finish line that didn't exist. Facing it head on, the 5-minute wake-up call. So how do you break through these fires? You start by facing them. It's not about fixing the world, it's about seeing what's cooking in your own mind. That's what I told Lon that rainy day, and it's what I've told hundreds of others over the years. You don't need a fancy meditation cushion or a week-long retreat. 5 minutes will do. Here's how. Find a spot, sit on your couch, stand in your kitchen, wherever you are, just pause. Grab a paper or close your eyes, jot down what's bugging you, or just think it. What's hurting me right now? Dig a little, is it the thing itself, like a jerk boss, or the story you're telling yourself, like I don't deserve this? Sit with it, don't run, don't fight, just look. Let it be there for a minute. Lon did this. She sat on that bench, rain dripping outside, and faced her pain. She saw it wasn't just her husband or the money, it was that whiny question she couldn't shake. When she stopped wrestling it, it lost its grip. A week later, she told me, "Teacher, I still miss him sometimes, but I'm not mad at the world anymore. I can breathe." I've seen this work over and over. There was Sarah, an American expat I met in Vietnam about 8 years ago. She was a teacher, stressed out of her mind, kids wouldn't listen, rent was late, humidity was killing her. She plopped down at the temple one day and said, "I'm done. Life here sucks." I handed her a mango and said, "Take 5 minutes. What's really eating you?" She scribbled on a napkin, "Kids. Money. Heat." Then I asked, "Is it those things, or what you're telling yourself about them?" She thought, then wrote again, "I keep thinking I can't handle this." Bingo! That was the fire, craving control, anger at chaos, ignorance of her own strength. She faced it, and by the time she left, she was laughing about her mango therapy. Or take old Mr. Bao, a rice farmer I knew back in the 90s. His crops failed one year, floods wiped out everything. He came to me, shoulders slumped, and said, "Teacher, I've lost it all. What's the point?" I told him, "Sit with me. 5 minutes. What's the pain?" He grumbled, "The flood took my rice." And I pushed. I'm a failure. My family's screwed. There it was, the story, not just the flood. He faced that tale of failure, saw it for what it was, and a month later, he was planting again, whistling as he worked. Why this matters: suffering's an inside job. After 50 years, I can tell you this: the Buddha wasn't kidding when he said suffering's rooted in us. The world's gonna throw curveballs, rain's gonna fall, people are gonna leave, crops are gonna fail. That's life. But the suffering? That's optional. It's what we add on top, the craving for it to be different, the anger when it's not, the ignorance that keeps us spinning. Lon figured this out. She didn't get a new husband or a winning lottery ticket, but she stopped drowning. Vin started appreciating his rickety boat. Hoa let her sister's debt stop haunting her nights. Min found joy in a cup of coffee instead of a paycheck. Sarah handled her classroom chaos. Bao grew rice again. And me? I ate tomatoes from a new garden and thanked those goats for the lesson. You can do this too. 5 minutes, just 5, and you'll see it's not the job loss or the fight or the rain. It's the why me, that I need more, that this shouldn't be happening. Face that, and you're halfway to freedom. The Buddha called it waking up, and trust me, after 50 years, I know it's the first step to putting out those fires. So grab that paper, close those eyes, and ask, what's hurting me? Where's it really coming from? You might be surprised what you find and how much lighter you feel when you let it go.